That's right. You guys are anticipating coming in like crazy. Right. Folks, welcome to Bentonville State Historic Site. You're standing 148 years ago was the rear area of the largest land battle in North Carolina history. March 19th, 20th, and 21st, 1865, Sherman's left wing of his army, approximately 30,000 troops, marched up the road in front of you. About a mile and a half up the road, they were attacked by Joseph Johnston's army of Tennessee, what was left, with 20,000 troops. They started fighting. They fought for 3 days. The survivors of the battle commented it was some of the most severe fighting they had seen the entire war. So we're out here today to try to spark your interest in history, make it a little bit more interesting than you might have found in school. And so we want to thank you for spending some of your time away from the TV and the tournament to come out here and get educated. We're the 1st North Carolina Volunteers, the 18th North Carolina, the 11th North Carolina, 27th North Carolina, and the 9th New Jersey. I want to start off by explaining to you some of the equipment that the men wore. Now, statistically, during the American Civil War, the average age of a soldier was approximately 23. Average weight was about 140 pounds. So my disclaimer is most of us are too old and too fat to be portraying Civil War soldiers. However, I found a young one here who more meets the qualification. So, what the prophet will be wearing in 1865 varied. At this point, he's wearing a new shell coat, shell jacket made of jeans cloth wool. That's a cotton wool weave dyed gray. If you look behind me, the ranks, those jackets were all gray at one point or brown as well. And exposure to the sun causes those natural dyes to change color, hence maybe the term butternut. Short shell jacket, jeans cloth, brown jeans cloth, brogans, Jeff Davis booties, has on a French hat called a kepi. And the ranks behind me, some of the smarter ones actually have things called on slouch hats. It's a civilian hat, wider brim, keeps the rain, keeps the sun off. These are French design. They look good and they're absolutely useless in terms of protecting us from the sun and the rain. Private has on his person things called accoutrements, leather or late war perhaps made from canvas. They all have different purposes. This thing on the front of him, as most of them have, is called a cap pouch. And inside it, it keeps his caps. And the cap is not something you wear on your head. If I can get it out, it's a small copper cylinder about the size of a pencil eraser, has fulminated mercury in it. This is the ignition source to his weapon. He also has something called a bayonet. Nasty thing, 18 inches long, triangular, makes puncture wounds. Can be used to attack or defend. Also can be used for tent stakes, barbecues, and I read about one being heated into a hook and used to drag bodies off the battlefield. He also has the haversack. This is basically his lunch box. There are haversacks that are made of linen or cotton. Some are tarred like this one. This one was highly desired. It's painted cloth, if you would. It's somewhat waterproof, so his cornmeal or his hardtack or whatever he can find, the food goes in here. If it rains, it gets wet. This protects it. He also has a canteen. As you see in our ranks, there are a lot of variants of canteens. Some like ours are smooth side, some are covered with wool, some with jeans cloth, some with nothing. There are drum canteens that are flat. They're concave. There are some with circles on them, some made of wood, some even had filters. And as the war progressed, they were all made of tin typically, and they rusted, so you had to keep replacing them. Further around here, he has a cartridge box. And in the cartridge box, he keeps, shockingly, cartridges. Cartridge is a Civil War bullet. It's a tube of paper, about 3.5 inches long, has around 65 grains of Triple F black powder, and a bullet. Bullet's about the size of the tip of your finger. It's soft lead. It weighs about 12 pennies in weight. It's concave. It's a cylindrical shape with a cupped opening at the bottom. That's designed that when the gunpowder explodes, that bullet swells up, is pushed down the barrel spinning, gives his weapons accuracy. He would carry about 40 rounds in here. Everything he's wearing, everything he's carrying is designed to allow him to use this. This is one of the two of the major weapons during the war. It's an 1858 Enfield rifle musket, manufactured in England, came through the blockade, came through the different ports. Some were imported into the north before the war and bought by Southern agents. It is accurate, 600 yards, weighs 10 pounds. The other weapon that was popular was the 1861 Springfield rifle. The Springfield is 58 caliber. Think about that for a second. This is a 5.77 caliber. Either one of them is a real big bullet. That is the major weapon of the infantry. During the Civil War, there were a number of manuals written that were used. There was Casey's, Gillham's, Scott's, Hardy's. They're all designed to keep the men bunched together because those manuals were written based on something called Napoleonic tactics. Napoleonic tactics, used by the short guy from France who wore a kepi, not really, was designed to keep the men bunched together because those smoothbore weapons had short ranges of 100 yards. So when they fired in mass like a giant shotgun. Now by 1861, they're using these new modern weapons that are accurate at 400 to 600 yards, but they still fall bunched together at 200-yard ranges, which is why we have a hospital and a surgeon back behind us here. So what the sergeant's going to do now is demonstrate for you some of the manual of arms, the forming of our company, a little bit of drill, and then we'll demonstrate how the weapons fire. Sergeant.
Front to rear. Count off.
1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. Now, this not only allows them to gain entry into Duke University, sorry, but it also determines where they stand in formation, as you'll see in a moment.
Company. Shoulder. Arm. Right. Face.
On the right face, he's now placed them from a battlefront into a column of march. But if you notice that the twos are actually moving, when that formation faces to the right, twos actually step up and step over where you have a column of march facing to the front right.
Front.
Also note how when they form, they keep that spacing so that when they turn back, they're not all bunched together. So that monitoring that distance in there is important.
Left. Face.
The left face, twos get to stand still, the ones step up and over. Column of march, but now by the left face.
Front. To the rear. In open order. March.
When the troops are in camp, they are drilled regularly, 4 to 6 hours a day, depending on what else is going on. Keeps them in sharp, keeps them out of trouble. So the manual of arms is how the weapon is handled by the troops. First Sergeant.
Right shoulder shift. March.
Lift the weapon up, rest on the right shoulder. It uses that side of the body and that set of muscles. You don't want to use that but for so long because that side of the muscles, even 10 pounds, will get tired.
Shoulder. March. Support. March.
Same concept, now they're using the muscles on the other side of the body. A good officer, a good NCO is going to make sure they take care of the men by moving that weapon around.
Shoulder. March. Secure. Arm.
If we were out here on picket duty, post, it's raining, stuff's all out of the sky, this actually keeps the muzzles pointing toward the ground. The men are holding that ramrod with their thumb, and foreign objects don't go down that barrel.
Shoulder. March. Port. Arm.
Diagonally across the body, easy to control, another popular carry.
Shoulder. March. Order. March.
These weapons are muzzle loaders. That means the charge, the powder goes down the muzzle. According to the manuals, there are 9 separate steps to load these weapons. Imagine trying to do this while you're getting shot at. A good soldier can do it in about 20 to 30 seconds. A bad soldier may not get to do it very often.
Loaded 9 times. Load.
They reach back, they find that cartridge box, they open it up, pull the cartridge out, the one wrapped in paper, full of gunpowder that tastes bad.
Tear. Cartridge.
So tear the teeth, Take the teeth, tear the cartridge off. Gunpowder does not have a good taste to it, by the way.
Charge. Cartridge.
Powder goes down the barrel, followed by the bullet, followed by the paper.
Draw. Rammer.
The ramrod comes out, and this is critical because you have to take that powder and that paper and that bullet and push it down into the breech of the bottom of the barrel. Now, if you leave the ramrod in, you have one shot, and you're more like spear fishing. Take the ramrod back out, and if we're going to stay here, they just stick the ramrod in the ground, but we don't want to point our weapons at you, the tax-paying public, who we appreciate being here, so we'll take them back with us. So the ramrod goes back inside the weapon.
Right.
They take the weapon up, they reach into that cap box, they take the little cap out, they put it on the cone of the weapon. Then the weapon's ready to be fired. That's going to close the order. You're going to march them out. You can show how they march around the field a little bit to get an idea of how they spit their after.
Hello, Franks. March. Now, hey. Front. Two ranks. Right. Face. Forward. Part. My file's right. They part.
The rate of fire battles of the Civil War was simply astounding. Example, in 1864, the Battle of Spotsylvania, there's enough rifle fire that it cut a 24-inch diameter tree in half, and that's about the size of that utility pole there to your left. That's by rifle fire. At Gettysburg, there's so much lead in the air, bullets are actually hitting each other in midair. So just imagine an angry hive of bees coming after you. So he's taking them out in what is a column of two.
Don't scare me.
No, good ability. You bring out a column of four or a column of twos. In the Army, they were divided up into groups. Now he's taking them from a column of march into a battle formation. He spotted you, the enemy. He takes them out of that column of march, back into a battle line. They're confused.
On the right flank.
Yeah.
March.
Now they've gone from a column of twos to a battle line, now back to a column of four.
Part. Time. Right. Part.
Volunteer fast enough. After about 1862, the cashier lists from Shiloh in April and Teedham in September really started to change people's minds. They had to start going out and conscripting or drafting people. That wasn't very popular.
Left wheel.
By this stage of the war, they were actually having to use segments of the Confederate Army to go out into the hinterlands of western North Carolina and bring back people who had deserted. Now the sergeant's actually placed them at a battlefront and has wheeled them around. All the steps, all the motions were determined by the drill manual.
March.
Says that in a line of march, they're taking 29-inch steps and they're taking 90 steps a minute. When they do a wheel, the outside of the guy of the wheel is taking a 27-inch step. Now I would think that in time of battle, they're not so concerned about exactly the length of the step. They want to get where they're supposed to go, but they trained like this to make sure that they can operate fairly functionally. During the war, in the middle of a battle, officers can only yell for so long. They'd use the musicians. We have drummers, we have buglers. They can actually transmit information and orders by using both the drum and the bugle. One of our drummers is relaxing over here. He's had a very strenuous day. He's a Duke fan. He's still in mourning. But I like steak more than Duke.